Amir Chaboki, the project leader at BAE, is coy about what advances in metallurgy, materials science and electrical engineering have made a useful weapon possible.
COY refers to a personality or style of manner that is very sensitive about providing details, very reluctant to provide details. Typically this refers to a woman who is very reluctant to talk about anything that's personal or anything of a sexual nature in particular, and sort of acts shy, very innocent. But it can also be used for other types of encounters too, such as business, where other people that you're talking to, they're just very reluctant to give you any information. So let's say if you're a salesperson and you're trying to sell something and then you're trying to put the order together, like how much they want and which level of product they want, and they're unwilling to give you that information, then you would say they're being very coy. And they may say, well, let's just give me their prices for everything. And then, you say, well, here, why don't I just hand you my internal price book? And they say, yeah, that would be fine. So in this case, being coy can be used as a strategy to get information from the other side that you're negotiating with without giving up any information yourself. So this is usually considered to be somewhat of a deceptive, annoying strategy. And if one side's coy, then the other side will tend to also be coy as well and be very reluctant to divulge information that is not helpful for them. So nowadays, oftentimes coy is thought of as being insincere, and the reluctance is seen as affected. So typically politicians will act very coy and they will give very vague answers on issues in order to avoid making commitments that they may be reluctant to make. Years ago, I interviewed at this major investment bank, and they were acting very, very coy almost the whole time. I asked them how much they wanted to pay, and they said, well, we're not really sure. And I say, well, and when do they want me to start? They say, well, we don't really know about that. And finally I just said, okay, that's fine, I'll take the job. They said, great, you can start on Monday. So they were being very coy, and what they really wanted was for me to accept the job before they offered the job, because what they didn't want to have happen is they didn't want to offer me the job and then turn them down, because then I could walk around and say, well, I got a job from these people and I turned them down. They didn't want that. So they were being very coy in order to avoid this negativity they didn't want to have. So oftentimes when potential candidates are considering running for office, they'll be very coy and they'll say, well, I'm thinking about it. I will make my decision when the time is right. And that's accepted as part of the natural political process, that candidates do not reveal that they're interested in office until they actually make the announcement.
From the way Silicon Valley talks about banking, you might well conclude that the industry was ripe for oblivion.
Oblivion refers to a state of mind or of existence where memory basically fades away. So it's technically this real place where people go, presumably when they die, and then after death they gradually lose their memory of what it was like to be alive. So once they lose this memory of what their previous life was like, then they are in a state of oblivion. And this is usually considered to be a good thing, because if they had to constantly rehash what it was like to live and then compare their previous life against their present life, which is actually death, they would be pretty unhappy about that. So this is considered to be a beneficial process for the dead, and this theme is very recurring throughout history in various types of creative arts. Similarly, the idea of oblivion will refer to someone who is very well known, oftentimes famous, where they are past the peak of their career, and oftentimes they don't even have a career anymore. And then they just seem to kind of disappear, and oftentimes they even get forgotten. And then 20 years later, you find out that they die, and you say, who? Who was that died? And you have a hard time even remembering who they were, because they went into this state of oblivion after they were out of the public eye. And in this case, it means a state of being completely forgotten or unknown. Now, if you were to happen to actually meet one of these people, they may say, oh, I'm not living in oblivion, I'm living a great life. I'm living on my ranch, I'm doing whatever, and maybe you're right, maybe they are happy, but maybe they were happier being in the public eye. Oblivion can also refer to a state of annihilation or desolation. For example, if a city gets bombed and is turned into rubble, then you would say the city got turned into oblivion. The original Apple computer was very advanced for its day, but there's been multiple generations of computers ever since. And obviously the original technology has gone into oblivion, and the only place you'll ever see these computers anymore is in museums. A lot of people thought that Bill Clinton had gone into oblivion after he left the presidency, but now more recently with Hillary Clinton running for president, he's come out of oblivion and he's back on the political circuit again. With modern day media, it seems like stars are being created every day, and I'm sure a lot of these people, they imagine they're going to be famous for a long time, but most of them don't last on the stage very long, and they end up fading into oblivion. ESL-fullsteamahead.com